Hello and welcome. My name is Justin. Thank you for joining me here at my table again for another episode of Mastering Monsters. This is a series where I roll up different random encounters with random creatures from the books that I own to see just how vast the D&D creatureverse is. I want to learn everything that I can about all the different creatures in D&D. And eventually, of course, I'll be expanding out to other systems, but for now we're going to stick with D&D 5e. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's session, shall we? Today we have the Salamander Fire Snake and its rather intellectual or intelligent evolution of the salamander. Now, these creatures are primordial fire creatures. They live in the primordial fire plane, separate from the physical plane of existence, where like Faerun exists. The fire plane is its own plane of existence, and it's exactly as it sounds. It's just a plane of existence that is constantly burning and on fire. Now, these creatures, the salamander and the salamander fire snake, pretty much just live to burn things. The fire snake lives to consume a certain type of flame that will evolve it into a salamander. And the salamanders themselves live to burn, but not in just a burn and destroy everything kind of way. Kind of like that, but kind of not at the same time. They burn because of this fleeting desire for the instant gratification of what they would consider to be the most beautiful art form, which is something burning. These beautiful wisps of flame flying everywhere, the sparks of ashes sprinkling up into the air, and they do so very, very proficiently. They're very good with fire. I mean, they're literally made of fire. They're these serpent-like beings. The snake itself is literally just a fire snake that I believe can fly, if I'm not mistaken. No, they can't fly, but they can climb. So yeah, these things, the snake itself is born through some form of reproduction. I'm not exactly sure, but they're born from the salamanders and eventually consume a certain type of fire to become a salamander themselves. So let's go ahead and jump into getting some notes for the salamander fire snake and the salamander, shall we? Okay, so here we have the salamander and the salamander fire, or the salamander fire snake and the salamander, right? Now I've rolled up an encounter of rescuing something, right? So this is a rescue encounter. The difficulty level is 14, which is rather high for an encounter like this. Hence the reason why there's two creatures, and I noticed something interesting in the fire snake and the salamander's stat blocks. One, they live in the fire plane, of course. Primordial fire plane is where they live and exist. Second is they can be found in the Underdark, which I thought was interesting. So my thought for this is if it's going to be a rescue, how is it going to be a rescue, right? My thought is that maybe the players have come across a fire snake that has sort of escaped the home of the rest of the salamanders, right? My thought is that the salamanders dwell somewhere in the Underdark, but one of the fire snakes managed to just accidentally find its way out into the open air, right? I think that the players, just for the sake of this encounter, the players have come across a fire snake and have essentially befriended it, almost turning it into a familiar. making it sort of a friendly creature that they have been traveling around with for a little bit. And I'm actually going to be placing this idea into an adventure. I love this idea so much that I'm writing an adventure solely about this idea, and we'll get into that here in a second. So the players have found and befriended this fire snake, right? And I believe that in this world, the salamanders have somehow been trapped in the mortal plane. And in being trapped, they found a home underneath a massive volcano, a very massive active volcano, right? And they found their home in the large magma pool that sits 100 to 1,000 plus feet underground, right into the Underdark, where a lot of the magma from this volcano has flown into this giant magma lake, sort of underneath the volcano itself. And this is where the salamanders have found to call home. They've been there long enough that they have even built up a magma castle, sort of, with these organic obsidian shapes making up this massive lava castle with pools of magma sitting in different places that serve maybe as sort of like hot tubs, essentially, for the salamanders. Lava flows that explode over balconies, creating these very beautiful yet deadly landscapes, right? And I believe that the salamanders, in this case, have begun to sort of emerge into the world above. Okay, so what we have here is that the players have befriended this salamander fire snake while traveling around a mountain range called the Balathos Mountains. These are actually this is actually a mountain range that exists in the homebrew module setting that I'm writing. And my thought is that in the middle of the night, as the players were resting during their travels around the Balathos mountain, after spending a little time really befriending this fire snake, and even maybe going through some combat encounters with it, they awake in the middle of the night to the sounds of roaring flames, in the form of almost language, sort of exploding across their camp as they are invaded by a group of salamanders, who eventually grab and kidnap this fire snake that the players have befriended, who they have even named Burgeon Flame, maybe, just for the purposes of this. So Burgeon, the fire snake, has been kidnapped by a group of salamanders who have found their way to the surface and just kind of came across the party with this fire snake, right? And they are trying to take it back underground to their castle, which is where they can put it through the process of eventually eating a certain type of flame in order to turn it into a salamander, right? So this forces the players to pursue the salamanders into the mountains. Now, along the way, the players would probably encounter a few more salamanders, maybe even a high salamander. I forget the name off the top of my head, but that's okay. And eventually finding their way down underneath the volcano of the Balathos Mountains. Maybe we'll just call it Balathos, the volcano itself, and find their way to this magma castle and have to infiltrate it in order to find Burgeon and help free him. Which brings us to an interesting debacle here. So the question is, what specific kind of flame has to be eaten by the fire snakes in order to turn them into salamanders? And how is this flame created? That's the question where I find myself now. Okay, so we have our question. What flame must be consumed for evolution, and how is it created? And this kind of takes me back to the this art form, this desire for this fleeting ignition that the salamanders have. And my view is that maybe the salamanders have developed this from a love of the art form. Maybe they've almost developed it into a form of religion. My thought is they worship maybe a god of flame or something, and this is how they express their love for flame and this god of flame and the existence of flame as a whole, is by creating these artful flames. What if the way that they create this specific fire is that when they perform a really good when they create an accepted enough, an artful enough piece of flame, it turns blue, and these blue flames are what fire snakes have to eat in order to ascend to becoming a salamander. That sounds pretty interesting. I like this idea that the salamanders have developed a worship for some type of god of flame, and these flame artists use their abilities to create these different works of flame art, and one that this god deems worthy of its power, it will imbue this flame with its magic, turning the flame blue. And these blue flames are what need to be eaten by the fire snake in order to evolve into a salamander. I like the idea that this doesn't just casually happen. I like the idea that maybe in a pretty frequent amount of time, the salamanders come together for, let's say, like a flame festival or an ignition festival or something along those lines, where they work together to try to create these blue flames and have a large group of fire snakes around them to try and evolve as many of the fire snakes as possible all at once, growing their ranks, creating what they desire, this fleeting feeling of instant gratification, and at the same time worshiping this god of flame, whatever the god of flame may be. And this is what this is going to be centered around. This Igni festival, this flame festival is going to be the encounter. Okay, so we have our encounter. It's a rescue mission for the fire snake companion, Burgeon Flame. And the players, so Burgeon is kidnapped from the group amidst a restful night, forcing the players to give pursuit to the salamanders who kidnapped him, and eventually finding their way down underground into the magma castle, where the Igni festival is taking place. where a large group of the salamanders have come together, constantly creating these flames, burning different things. Maybe they've brought wood or other materials from up top to begin the process of hopefully creating these blue flames. Maybe as the players enter, they enter when a blue flame has been created amidst this cacophony of red flame. And a fire snake jumps up, devours the flame, and evolves into a salamander before their eyes, giving them the idea that they need to find and get Burgeon and leave, all without dying or letting Burgeon be turned into a salamander himself. So that is the encounter that I have come up with for this. I like this. I really like this. I like it so much, in fact, that I am writing a short adventure that I'm actually going to be running as sort of a podcast game here on the channel in the beginning in the coming weeks. So keep an eye out for that. And I'm also going to be publishing this adventure, and I'm going to upload it to Patreon, which is also going to be something that I'm setting up and will be coming in the coming weeks. I'm going to be building maps to go along with the adventure that I'll put up on Patreon as well. But if you like this video, please go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more, and thank you again for joining me at my table for another fun session of Mastering Monsters. I really love this. I love this series, and I look forward to continuing it and doing more. So again, thank you for joining me, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.